It was an educated wish. Welcome in to the Bro or Squad podcast, where we are just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. I am your host, the mayor, Jeff Hornacek. This is episode 234. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. It's a special one. It's our 2024 movie year in review, as we're going to tie a bow on 2024, say goodbye to it, and reminisce on some of the movies that were good, bad, and indifferent. Before we get into it, though, we have to go around and meet my fellow bros. We begin with the American hero, Nate Thurmond. Nate, have you already fucked up your resolutions for 2025, 8 days in?
No, and I'll tell you why, because I don't make resolutions, because I know I will fuck them up. And after being on the earth for 36 years now, I'm going to pat myself on the back for actually doing this, because I know what I'm getting myself into if I do resolutions. It's not going to work out. So for the betterment of myself and my own mental health, I just say fuck them.
And it takes a real man to learn himself, you know?
Thank you.
You've scouted yourself, and I know.
Yeah.
If you don't have a goal, then you can't not meet it. Life hack.
Yeah.
So I just made sure my parents expected nothing of me, and then I can't be a failure.
Set those expectations low.
Absolutely. Next, we go to our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycli. Ronnie, I need you to crunch some numbers for me real quick. What was the total damage in terms of lawsuits against the pod in 2024? And do you think that we can top that number in the new year?
I went a good 69 for 69 this year. So, I really don't want to peak it like next year. I want to stay right where we were at.
I don't get it. Why? What's good about what is that?
No, it was anything more would be too much work. It was exhausting, to be honest with you. So
Gotcha.
I really hope we don't. Yeah.
Was that like your badminton number in high school or something?
It was actually.
On JV though.
I couldn't make it to varsity, guys.
To be fair, the school you went to was fucking loaded.
Tough squad. Tough squad.
But when you were on JV as a senior, that was pretty fucking cool.
That was just the coach just to be a favor.
Everyone respected you. All right, here for the chest day topic today, we're going to do our 2024 movie year in review. So first off, I have a few, where I pulled up the predictions from late. I think we actually did it at like the very beginning of this year, or maybe in December of last year. I can't remember. But we did our predictions for the 2024 movie year in review on one of our episodes. I'll try and find it and link it in the description. But Cycli, myself, and Banner were on the pod. And we went through what we thought our biggest flop would be, our biggest sleeper movie, and our most anticipated film. So even though Banner's not on the pod, I thought it would be fun to revisit these real quick and see how these picks hold up. Cycli, you probably nervous. Don't even. Yeah, I was gonna say you probably don't even remember what you.
I think Gladiator 2 was one of them.
It is. Let's start with biggest flop, negativity. It's always good to begin there, I feel like. Yours, and these are movies that we predicted would either crash and burn critically or financially or possibly both. Just things that. And we tried not to pick obvious ones. I think we actually even said on the podcast, Madam Web is like not what we're trying to do here. Like it has to be based on some sort of expectation that it might not be dog shit. You went with Twisters as your biggest flop. How do you feel about that now that the year's over?
That was a mistake. I really, yeah, that was wrong. I will fully accept mistakes right there for me. I'll talk about this film here in a little bit. This was so much fun. This is exactly what sequel should be. And I think when we were on the pod a year ago, I was like, what are they doing? Is there even a demographic for this? This movie came out 30 years ago, right? Like, who are we making this for? And what they ended up doing it was perfect. Just a nice little homage to the first one, and created their own story that was fun enough for the next generation to come around. Didn't do too much, just kept it entertaining, and yeah, I fully have an egg on my face on this one. Twisters held up.
But I know this is a weird one because you have a big affinity for the original, so I feel like you were kind of rooting against your own pick.
I was, like, and I went to the theater, like I think I said on the pod last year, I'm still gonna see it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the theater was packed, and it was like going to the movies back in the 90s. People were not in an annoying way, talking, laughing, enjoying the film, like,
No, it's like
as a whole
experience film,
group.
yeah.
Yeah. And then no one had to take themselves too seriously. So, yeah, happy to be wrong on that one.
Nate, did you and the wife get a chance to see Twisters either in theaters or since it's come out?
Yeah. God, do we see this in a theater? I think we might have seen it in theater. I can't remember now, to be honest. But yeah, we loved it. It was awesome. Yeah, I think they touched enough on the nostalgia factor to really rein in people who fell in love with the original, but not having like a ton or any of the original cast in it helped develop their own story, and then make it its own thing. So it wasn't trying to do too much fan service, which can be exhausting sometimes, if they're doing that in a sequel from 30 years ago. So yeah, it was fantastic. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can imagine there was a lot of people in the movie theater that did not know it was a sequel, or just like that definitely wasn't the reason they went to it, at least.
Sure. Well, they went because Glenn Powell's in it.
Glenn Powell, exactly.
Yeah.
God, he's so hot right now. He's a Hansel. I think for the purpose of this exercise, Nate, I'm going to put you in a position where you have to defend or shit on Brian Banner's pick,
Wow,
since he's
that's
not here
where
to
everyone
defend, so.
wants to be on this pod.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
So, Nate, Banner's biggest flop was Beetlejuice, which I got to say, I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it when it came to streaming. I actually really liked Beetlejuice this year. How do you feel about that as a flop? I think we all just kind of said on the pod, Tim Burton, what was the last good movie he's made? And no one could really come up with an explanation or an answer.
Yeah, I actually have not seen this yet, but from reviews and other people seeing it, I know that it really held up to expectations, kind of like Twister. So it's kind of a random year for both of these to come out after having the original come out so long ago. And going back, actually did go back for the first time and watch the original Beetlejuice last year. And it is crazy how late Michael Keaton shows up and how little Beetlejuice there is in it.
I was bitching to Cycly about this. I was like, I actually forgot he was in the movie.
Yeah, and so I know that's a big point of contention for a lot of people, and that's what I've heard from the Beetlejuice, that made it quite a bit better. So Banner said this was going to be a flop.
Yeah,
I will say that
from what I've heard, no.
Yeah, Beetlejuice, but I've heard good things, like overall from everyone who's seen it, and I like expectations. And if we go by flop in terms of pure numbers, the last two movies we just talked about, Twisters finished 15th overall worldwide in 2024. Beetlejuice finished 11th. And domestically, 294 million domestic for Beetlejuice, 267 million for Twisters domestically. So yeah, definitely not flops. And if you didn't like the movie.
Fuck you.
So we're 0 for 2 there. I think I might be able to salvage it here because I said Joker Folly Adieu was my flop. And even at the time, Cycle, you actually were still holding out hope that maybe
I wanted to believe.
The rumors that it was a musical might not be true. And I don't know why I was so negative on this because we really hadn't had any marketing at the time. But I feel good about this. I actually am one of the few people on the pod who didn't see it, but you saw it, Cycling, and your description to me of your feelings on it did not motivate me to go watch it.
You said I was denying it a year ago that I thought it was something going on. I denied it up till the second I hit play, that it was a musical. Like literally, I was still thinking it's like a joke at the end of the movie. Like that's the Joker. He's like, hey, tell everyone it's a musical, eh? Like, like it's like, oh, okay. But then you're like, no, it actually is. And it's terrible. And again, if we're going by financial numbers, 22nd overall in box office worldwide, but a mere 58 million domestically. 28% of Joker 2's box office revenue was domestic. Like that's very poor.
Yeah.
And
had a big budget.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Horns. I love the first Joker.
Yeah.
It was in my top 100 somewhere. But so I was like looking forward to this, and then heard reviews and rumors, and then Cycly's review on it. Just if I do watch it, it'll be years down the road. So we'll see.
Curiosity might eventually get you.
Maybe.
All right, next one is Biggest Sleeper. So basically a movie that we think could surprise some people, either a movie that people don't expect to be good, that could be, or a movie that is just not really on anyone's radar, that could end up being sort of a pleasant surprise. Thurman, you're going to have to either defend or shit on Banner's pick. He said Mufasa, The Lion King. And I could be wrong, but I haven't seen many things positive or negative or critically about this. I feel like this movie, for a Lion King movie, came out and everyone's like, okay.
That's kind of my views and what I've heard on as well. I mean, there's what was the Lion King, the live action that came out several years ago. That got shit on quite a bit.
Yeah, I feel like that was panned.
Yeah, but yeah, Mufasa. Honestly, when did it even come out? Did it come out late in the year, or?
I think
it came
pretty
out
recently,
like
actually.
late November.
Yeah. I honestly haven't heard much about it, but as big of franchises or impact Lion King has had on our generation and things, I would say it could probably be considered a flop because I haven't heard much about it.
Yeah,
I can just say I haven't seen it. I did read the plot on Wikipedia, and I wasn't a big fan of what they decided to do and kind of retcon the relationship between Mufasa and Scar.
yeah. So is Scar not in it? I didn't see him in the cast.
No, Scar
list.
is in it. He's the adopt, like he's the brother. Well, I mean, he's the brother, but
He's
Scar,
adopted.
Mufasa's adopted. Scar finds Mufasa as a stray, and Scar takes him to his family.
And that really makes Mufasa look like a dickhead.
Right, yeah. So like Scar actually has the rightful claims.
Yeah, so then
like,
how is he the
I'm like,
that's bullshit, man.
Like he loses
Wow.
like I guess
You brought in your replacement.
Yeah. And I will say this, like, I mean, I know the plot goes into character and why Scar doesn't become king and all this kind of stuff, but like I can tell you online, people are ripping it in a funny way. Like people are making fun of some of the song sequences and things like that. So I think it did well. I think so. This one finished 9th in box office. 63%, 64%, however, is foreign. So that again, kind of not great domestically, but I just feel like I think people would rather have seen either going back to the classic animation. I feel like this, didn't, in terms of the reception that's getting, I don't think it holds up at all. I don't think people will be talking about this in a year or two.
Top 10 box office is surprising. My biggest sleeper.
Kids on the holidays, man.
My biggest sleeper was Trap, the M. Night Shyamalan movie. This is one you and I were really, really pumped for. It was fine, but I think we probably doomed it with too big of expectations. We did a review on this, I believe, as well, if people want to check it out.
Hey, I was still here for that Josh Hartnett. Like,
yeah.
I think we both said on the pod, the first 2/3 of that movie, pretty damn good, pretty good, like pretty entertaining. Kind of goes off the wall there at the end, but
yeah, fizzles out. Cycling, I love your pick. You probably don't remember this. You had Nosferatu.
Yeah, I remember. Like, I mean, I still haven't seen it, so I'll let you take the reins on this. But I am very excited to see. I've been wanting to see it for the last few weeks, and I've heard nothing but good things.
I actually haven't seen it either.
Okay.
And I don't
this
think
was his sleeper pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as far as a sleeper, I would think you kind of hit the nail on the head with this one because I really didn't see a lot of promotion or anything coming up on it until literally it started coming out. But the reviews already are fantastic from what I've heard.
Yeah, I've seen nothing but good things.
Yeah.
Cycly's the Eggers head on the pod too. Although
That's right.
I think I've seen most of his stuff as well.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few of them.
All right, last one before we go on to our list. Most anticipated movie of the year. Cycly, you had two pretty high-profile sequels. Gladiator 2, obviously the first one is in your top 100. Mm-hmm. And then you had Dune Part 2 as well.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, at the very least, Dune Part 2 absolutely walk-off home run there. Like, I mean, it did everything it was supposed to. Box office-wise, critics-wise, like, it is, to me, and I'll talk about this here in a little bit, the film of 2024. And then Gladiator going over there. Box office-wise, I think it did finished 12th overall, 450 million. I mean, I think it might be still in theater, so it might get a little more. But box office-wise, it definitely did well. I think this one was, I think I said last year, this was teetering for me on like, could also be biggest flop. It did neither of those things. It had a good, I think a lot of people went to see it. I just walked out saying, I don't think we needed the film. I was entertained, but I felt pretty good about those though. Like I think Gladiator 2 did better than I expected.
Yeah, I think it was reviewed better than I think a lot of people anticipated as well. Considering but both the distance between it coming out and how a lot of people for many years were like, if we haven't cracked the story yet, like I don't think we're going to figure it out now. Banners was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. He's the ape's head on the pod. I actually don't remember his opinion on this movie, but being most anticipated might even speak more volumes to, like, I really don't think he was that excited about this movie, so there might not have been too much coming out that he was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a low expectations one there. I feel like with some of the other stuff that came out this year. So that's
It'd be like you go to a
fair.
restaurant and you're like, I can't wait to get an ice water there.
Hell yeah, their ice water is so watery.
It is.
So I can tell you, I watched this. I watched it like probably like 3 or 4 months ago, and I really couldn't even remember a thing from it. I think I liked it.
I think I liked it.
But it, like some of these movies, they all the Planet of the Apes ones, they're all good movies. They just kind of all run together, to be honest. So
yeah, I tend to agree with that. Yeah.
That's almost worse than hating it, right? Like you don't even like.
I
anything about it.
like. I feel like if I started it right now, I'm like, oh yeah, but like until I'm actually.
Oh yeah, there's
sitting
apes in this.
There. That's
Totally
where
forgot.
I knew the monkeys are. All right.
I had 2, but one of them actually ended up not being released. I had A Quiet Place Day 1, which I liked. It was
good.
not. It didn't answer a lot of the questions that I had. Nate, I can't remember if you and I talked about this on pod, but I feel like it was actually like a better. It was like a really emotional movie, and I was not really prepared for that when I went into it.
Yeah. No, I agree. They didn't get like too far into like the meat and potatoes of things, but like the story was still good. The plot was good, and the characters were great. I like the way it played out. Yeah, it was emotional for sure. And it turned out being a good film, but just not exactly what I was expecting.
Yeah, I was expecting more of like the lore of like the actual alien species, and you really don't. I don't think you really get much information at all about them that we didn't already have.
No,
going in. And then my other one, and Cycle, you and I think have mixed feelings on this not coming out this year, but it was Saw 11. Was on my.
Yeah, now we're like wondering, is it ever going to come out? So.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I hope. This was going to be rushed in terms of its release anyway, so maybe it was for the best that it didn't come out, but I don't think, it's not even like it's finished now. Have they even started filming?
I mean, there's a question if it's going to be made, and then like there's been, I don't know, weird like this cryptic like tweets made, and you're like, does that mean they're not making it? Does that mean they'll make it? The one positive I have on these are at least the Saw movies probably really take like 1 month to film. So, if things finally get the green light, like it's still possible we get it this October.
That's true. All right, those are our picks from the beginning of the year. Let's move on to now that we've had the whole year to actually digest where we stand. So let's do our top 3 movies of the year first. Now, I didn't have mine ranked, but I just did it as we were speaking. So do you guys have yours ranked in like a literal 3, 2, 1?
Mm-hmm.
I have mine as a 1, and then like my second 2 favorites. Like I have a clear 1.
Got it. Well, let's count down then. We'll go from 3 to 1. Nate, why don't you get us started off? What is your number 3 movie from the year 2024?
Yeah, this was a tough one ranking these, and I think Cyclo was talking about this off pod, but as I was going through this, I realized, dang, there's still a lot of 2024 movies I want to see.
Yeah, same.
But this is an interesting one to come in at number 3. But number 3 for me was It's What's Inside. I thought this was a really interesting movie, and it was a take that I'd never seen done before. And
is that the one where they switch bodies?
Yeah, where they switch bodies.
Okay. Yeah.
It was a fun ride. And it made you think a lot. It did get a little confusing at some points early in the movie when they were switching bodies. But overall, it was a new take on something that I hadn't seen before. And for that, I give it credit. Just coming up with, I think, original idea, because like I said, I'd never seen it or heard of anything like this. And the way it was presented in like a game, and then a few twists near the end that were fun and interesting. So Cycle, I don't know if you've seen this one, but I'd recommend this one.
I have not.
Fun.
Okay, then Nate, you were definitely the one that recommended it to me because it was someone on the pod.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it a lot. With no spoilers here, but I think it has like a hat on a hat at the end that it didn't really need.
Yeah, I can see that.
And like you, I'm just kind of stupid, so I was getting a little bit confused. Although they do have kind of a cool like visual device to let you know who is who at
Mhm.
certain times in the movie, but I was still getting a little bit confused at certain points, especially the. That's kind of a spoiler.
Yeah, it was that was kind of the fun part of it for me is trying to decipher and be like, oh, this is this person, oh, this is this person, and then maybe being wrong or maybe getting it right. It's kind of a fun game that the audience could play along with it.
Yeah.
And then kind of I don't know if there's a main character. I guess David Thompson in it. I think we talked about this on pod. Paul Dano
Paul
vibe.
Dano vibes, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
He's like a great value brand Paul Dano.
Yeah. But that was a fun one. Snuck in at 3. I'll give honorable mention at 4 was Heretic. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Pick. Yeah, that didn't crack my list, but I'll give it an honorable mention as well.
yeah, it was solid.
Cycly, you got to choose now between your second two, which one you want to mention first, and we're going to consider this your third best movie of the year.
Well, I mean, it's funny because I just watched it the other day, and you guys, I was going to talk about it later too, but it's actually The Substance.
Wow.
It's I mean, one, you guys kind of sold me on, like, I had been wanting to watch this, Heretic and Nosferatu these last few weeks, and then the holidays kind of got in the way, so I finally got to Substance. And
That's a dark, like, you need to put like Muppet Christmas Carol in between those.
I mean, it's always followed up with Muppet's Christmas Carol this time of year. That's fair. Substance, I think overall, like, you know, I'm going to talk about overall my perception of 2024 was this was the year of horror. This was absolutely what I'm going to remember from this year, because actually I feel like there weren't, even looking at the list of Golden Globes and some of the movies that are on the short list for Oscars, I feel like in the grand scheme of things, there's not a lot of movies that I'm like, wow, that was an iconic film that like came out this year. That's going to be one of the, you know, for decades. I think we had just a lot of really good movies this year.
Mhm.
And in genre especially, it was horror. I mean, we had an unreal amount of horror. Some lived up to expectations, some definitely did not.
Well, you and I have been texting the Broskers noms, which we'll do in February for best horror movie. We had to kick some out that previous years might have been like a dark horse to win the category.
Easily. And so what I think I liked about The Substance was it kind of was symbolic in terms of merging the two like categories of like was one of the better horror movies of the year, but also you can look at it as a film that's like award worthy and performance worthy and like covered that, even if you're not into horror. Like Nate, you know, this movie spoke a little bit to you. I know we can get into the actual film and my review later, but like I just kind of like it has what you want in a movie that like has all the quality. It has originality, and the, like, again, Demi Moore was absolutely fantastic and deserving every award she hopefully will continue to receive for this. But
just to be curious, sorry to interrupt you, Nate, maybe you know this too. Is Margaret Qualley getting as much praise as Demi Moore in this movie? Or has it really just been like Demi Moore as kind of like the one that they're pushing for Oscar buzz?
I know they were both nominated for something at the Golden Globes, but I think Demi Moore
is Qualley considered supporting actor?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, like I said, I know it's something. I would assume. I just saw a clip of them, and I know she got nominated too. So I mean, I guess I'm supporting.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Cycly.
No, yeah. I mean, that's really what it's for me. It was like, honestly, it's like, and you guys talked about it in your review, like the film does such a good job of it's almost disgusting. Like the scene where Dennis Quaid is eating the prawns. It's like, that might be the most disgusting scene to me in the whole movie. Like the cinematography.
I texted Nate as I was watching it. I was like, shrimp is ruined for me.
Like I was like, what the heck? How could they make like credit to the filmmakers, credit to that, because like the way the movie is filmed, the extreme close-ups, the attention to detail.
It's visceral, like you feel it.
And it's funny because you want to look away, but you can't.
Yeah.
You like the movie keeps your attention, and I'm pretty sure it was a +2 hour runtime.
And it really challenges that theory in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, you're going to look away, bitch.
And so, yeah, I won't go too much. I can talk about it a little bit more in a review. But yeah, this for me checks every box you want out of a film. And for me, having the horror element, especially body horror, is hard to do well. Body horror can really go off the rails. and you can argue this in a little bit,
I
but
was about to say.
but
There's no
yeah,
argument.
like this was a absolutely phenomenal film. I think this is one of the few that will be remembered years from now.
Yeah, very. No matter what you say about it, it is original as fuck. Is how I would describe it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so two of my top three, slight spoiler, are in the horror genre. I would say.
By the way,
my
Margaret
number.
Qualley was nominated. I just checked. Sorry.
Okay, good.
Supporting.
Supporting.
Yeah, she was great in it too. My number three is The First Omen, a movie that, I'll be honest, Cycly, if you didn't watch it first and say it was so great, I probably wouldn't have even given it a poke this year, because you see it, you're like, prequel to The Omen. I mean, I don't know. Do we really need that? And then you watch it and you're like, holy fuck, this is really good. Even if you forget the tie-ins to the Gregory Peck Omen, which I actually kind of dig the way that they connected it to that. But speaking of body horror, this is like, when it's done sparingly, creepy as hell, and just the whole like vibe that it gives off it's a very like methodical and slow burn, but I never felt like I was bored or like it was crawling at any point. It was just like a kind of like you're uneasy the whole time, which is just a cool feeling to have in a horror movie.
Look, I'll just go. We'll act like we're starting with me at 2, because First Omen is number 2 for me.
Perfect.
And
Nice.
I mean, if we're gonna put them in 2, so I was just gonna say that exactly. Another testament to the year in horror we had, that both of us now have. You said 2 out of 3. As our top 3. That never happens, right? Like, and only for maybe nerds like us. But I don't think we would be unique in that. First Omen has, like, exactly what you said. Is so easy nowadays and almost forgivable to retcon whatever story you're coming from, right? Like, we have prequels and sequels, up the wazoo now, and it's just like insane how much, like, you almost don't even remember what the original story is. Like, we were just talking about Mufasa and Scar and how that changed. But somehow First Omen, which I didn't have high expectations for to go in, I love the First Omen. It's in my top 100. I was
by the First Omen, you mean the Gregory Peck?
Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
That was confusing.
Like, quote, the first quote Omen. Sorry, like, yeah, that makes it complicated, guys. Let's
Yeah.
And the respect, I think that's what really did it for me, was like the respect to the original, and to show that you can actually respect IP and enhance it without, like, and you can still create more from it, but you don't have to like revert and retcon the story to make it whatever you're trying to do. And then 2, this you can compare the plot. This is also goes to show you it's not just plot. There was another film that came out right at the same time called Immaculate. Very similar in structure, very similar in plot. Absolutely
Sydney Sweeney,
cool.
right?
Sydney Sweeney. 2 good reasons to see the movie. And you really like, it just is. It
I
does
said
the polar
one,
opposite.
though.
Don't worry about it. And this film, like, really, like you said, the ambiance, the eeriness, shot for shot. It, like, I had to tell my wife, I was like, she wasn't watching it with me, and we had to start it over, because she was like, she came and watched one scene and she was hooked. And so, like, to show how it's not just the plot, it's actual story, it's actual characters, it's writing, directing, all of that comes together and creates a really fantastic, scary movie that pays homage to a cult classic original.
Yeah, it's always tough at the end of the year too. Like, when I'm judging these movies, because like you said, I don't want to say I had low expectations for this movie. I had no expectations for this movie.
Right.
So it coming out of nowhere, I think, is part of the fun and how much I had with it. All right, Nate, we'll go to you at number 2, since that was Cycles. What's your second favorite movie of the year?
Let's follow this fun little theme we're doing. My number 2 was The Substance.
Oh, wow. Look at this.
Everyone at home's like, have they watched 4 movies total this year?
Actually, yes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We don't watch movies on this pod.
Man, well, it's crazy because, like I was saying, like, there's so many more movies in 2024 I want to watch. I've been going back and like watching older movies that I've never seen before, so that's been filling a lot of my space in the movie watching realm. But yeah, this is fantastic. I think it speaks to what Cycly said. This is the year of horror. I'm not even a big horror guy, but like I said, Heretic was honorable mention for me, and The Substance, a body horror film, made it to number 2. But just the cinematography, the way it was shot was fantastic. Like Horn said, very visceral. You feel it whether you want to or not. And ASMR out the ass, like, everything is turned up a notch. as far as the visuals, the sounds, everything in the whole movie. The acting is phenomenal. You hate Quaid's character because of what a misogynistic pig he is, but that just proves what a great job he did at that role. And yeah, just a great body horror satire film. I think they mixed them in well on both styles. And yeah, it was just so beautifully shot. It was fun to watch. It was intriguing. It drew you in. Original story. I know we just blurted about it, so I won't have to go on too long about it. But yeah, it was fantastic. It was awesome.
Really interesting casting, kind of all around. Like Demi Moore in a role that she's just perfect for. But like every kind of correlation you make to her real life career, I think works really well. And then Dennis Quaid, like just a fucking weirdo, and he's perfect for this role.
Yeah, very, very weird guy in the movie. And yeah, it's so fitting that she's now won her first Golden Globe for this movie, which she said.
I was shocked to hear that.
Yeah, she's said over and over again in other interviews and things that I've heard her say, like she knew this was going to be a big swing. Now she didn't know until after the movie was over whether it was going to be a miss or not. And it was a big swing, and it worked out for him.
Yeah, I like when actors take risks like this. Like, especially when someone pitches you this movie, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to do this. This is weird as fuck. Let's see how this works out.
Yeah. All right, my number 2 movie, and this was actually my number 1 for a little while. I was kind of going back and forth. Alien Romulus.
I think that's my number 4. Okay. That would be my 4th, probably.
Nate, have you seen Alien Romulus yet? Okay.
Nah.
So I'm a big fan of the Alien franchise. I might be the only person left on Prometheus Island defending that as a great movie.
No, I like Prometheus. No, people can get fucked.
Okay, good. I don't understand like the problem with Prometheus that people
say it's not an alien movie. Like that's their thing. I'm like, get out.
Okay. What? That's an indictment on it?
Yeah, like it's like anyway.
Neither is Passion of the Christ.
That can be a whole thing.
Alien Romulus, to me, I mean, I had kind of high hopes for this. Fede Alvarez, who did Don't Breathe, which I think is like a super underrated horror movie, got it really back to like its not grounded roots, but like it's a much simpler plot. People go up to a ship to steal something off of it, and it turns out that there is a chest burster loose on the ship, and it starts causing fucking chaos and havoc. And the characters, they always give you just enough to where you kind of give a shit if some of them die, but it also doesn't get like melodramatic with the ways that they want you to connect to them. And I just thought this looked awesome. The use of lighting and lack thereof, like when parts of the ship are like dimly lit or like lights are out and broken, it just creates so much horror. And the cast in this, Kaylee Spaney, I don't think I've seen her in anything, but she was awesome. I was getting like heavy Ripley vibes, like Sigourney Weaver from the OG Alien. And I feel like I think the first Alien is like when you go through this series, I know it's like iconic in terms of what it did for sci-fi and horror, but I think it's now like the 3rd best Alien movie. I would put Alien Romulus, Prometheus, and then the OG Alien. That's how much I like this film.
Yeah, this cut to me, I would say like it kind of did the same thing First Omen did, like fantastic reintroduction of a film that has so many great films, you know, in the entire Alien. Like, you know, you can argue Alien 2 or Aliens is, if not the best one too. Like, it's really hard to have a miss. Like, you know, this genre, we've talked about Scream, right, in horror movies that like really doesn't have a miss. You can argue Alien. If you take out the Alien Predator ones, if you take out like when Alien kind of like, you know, goes into other films, like you can argue there might not be a bad Alien movie. And this one really did was creepy where it needed to be, was original in the sense that like it didn't feel like it was rehashing, but also felt like you knew what you were watching in an Alien movie. Yeah, this was definitely a pleasant surprise for me.
Loved it. All right, guys. Number 1, favorite movie of the year. Nate, let's start with you. The top film. And I think we all kind of preface this with, there's still a few movies that I wanted to see, but if it was something that I didn't get around to seeing now, I can't reasonably say it would be my number 1.
Yeah. And this one is, I don't want to say I'm cheating on this, but I was bamboozled a little bit. Earlier today when I was looking for 2024 films just to refresh. Oh, I've seen that. Started ranking them. This one popped up, but technically it came out late 23, but won awards for 24 award season, so I'm including it.
As Akon would say, still counts.
Still counts. I don't know if either one of you seen this one, but American Fiction. Anyone seen that?
No.
Oh wow, Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah, where he's the author. I haven't seen it, but yeah,
yeah. This
he's
one
the author who is basically like forced to publish a certain type of book because he's African American.
So yeah, he's an African American author and he wants to write a certain type of book, but he's not getting the pub that he thinks he should be getting for what he's writing. So then he writes a novel satirically in, I guess, the essence of from a gangster's point of view, like what he thinks pop culture wants. He does it as a joke, but then it ends up catching on, and then he has to live through this this other persona that he's created, this author. His book catches on, it gets a publisher, it gets really popular.
So do they think it's like actually based on his life, even though he wrote it as a joke?
Yeah, so then he has to basically fake the whole thing. But it's very poignant.
Jeffrey Wright as like a gangster is just a funny aesthetic to even picture.
Yeah, and you see him a lot in a supporting role, so it was cool seeing him in a lead role in this movie. It's not like laugh out loud funny, but it's funny without having to write like big hilarious jokes in it. It's not a comedy; it's a drama. But I guess you could kind of weasel out dark comedy in this, but definitely satire, because he's doing this and he doesn't even want to do it. He did it as a joke. He wrote this whole thing, didn't even mean for it to get popular, and then all of a sudden it takes off. And so he's dealing with this struggle of writing something that he never even wanted to write, and now it being popular and him having to live that life. But there's a lot of touching moments in it. There's some good relationships in it with him and his sister, and then him and another lady who is played by Trace Ellis Ross. I believe so. I think. I don't know. It's been like a year since I've seen this, but as far as getting the characters right, but no, this is a really, really good one. Like I said, it technically came out in 2023, but made it for the 24 award season. Really great one. Underrated. Someone at work suggested it to me, and I watched it, and I loved it.
I will definitely have to check that out.
Yeah,
I remember the trailer, and I loved it. Loved it. Nice. All right, Cycly, what's your number one movie of 2024?
It might be low hanging fruit, but it to me was, I already said it earlier. It's Dune 2. This movie, I rewatched it actually with my parents a few weeks ago while they were in town for the holidays, and I mean this is cinema, right? Like you know, this is why we loved the original Star Wars. These are why we go to movies. They're epics, action, writing. It had literally everything. The score, it really just hits every nail on the head. It doesn't really have a miss. I personally love the first Dune. I like the story. I got like in a big Dune kick after I went and watched like the 1980s version of it.
I'm curious to go back and watch that.
It's so interesting because if you actually read the books, and like for the longest time it was considered like an unfilmable film, and
even after the film came out, people were like, yeah, it still is.
It's still unfilmable, like especially the 81. You're like, oh yeah, they tried a little too hard. I mean, you can argue the original Dunes, like I mean, it's a pretty clear argument, like helped inspire Star Wars and do all these things, and like the level of sci-fi and the world building that it does. I think for like meme wise and everything online, like this was the movie of 2024, and it would have been so easy for it to not hold up, to not meet every expectation that everyone had put on it. And I think especially this is the kind of movie you have to see in theaters, right? Like this is why movies are made. And again, I went and saw it on IMAX. It was a terrible experience because of the 45 minutes of commercials and trailers
on a
3-hour plus movie. But this is why we pay the money to go. This is why people like us love movies. And, it'll be interesting. Dune 3 will probably come out in another 3 or 4 years. But this film is by far going to stand the test of time and really represents 2024. And honestly, I feel like it almost did it its service by coming out so early, by coming out in March. Usually these blockbusters are summer or winter. So I think that took away a little bit from its momentum, but extremely rewatchable and just fantastic storytelling and filmmaking.
Yeah, it's great.
Yep. Really great. I like this one better than the first one. So
yeah, it's faster than the first one.
Yeah,
there's more going on.
Yeah,
really cool.
Because I had to go back so I saw the first one when it came out, and then last year before I watched Dune 2, I rewatched the first one just because I feel like it lost me at points. The rewatch was better, but it helped me get a better base and understanding for the second one. But yeah, the second one I think blew it out of the water.
Yeah,
I get really my big problem is I'm so dumb. I get really confused with names. So
it's tough.
And in the first one, I felt like it was dense and there were a lot of characters. This is kind of a spoiler, but a lot of them die in the first one. So the second one, we kind of thin the herd, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Less characters.
Good. Less people to keep track of. Some of them have been murdered.
If they're going to die, they better do it and decrease the surplus population. There's my Muppets.
I should go ahead and do it. The Muppet Christmas Carol references in this fucking podcast. The Orphan.
Yeah, exactly. I will give props up really quickly on this film. I think like what's one of the most rewatchable scenes, or now I can't remember the name of the planet, but the Austin Butler really, really just like vicious was he was so good as a villain in this. Yeah. Like honestly, it was kind of hard to see him in this role. I mean, props to the makeup and everything like that, but it's funny to see him turn into what he did, and honestly converted me to more of a Timothée Chalamet fan too. And Zendaya, right? Like she does what she does. I'm kind of indifferent on her. I'm not like a hater, but I also don't think she like is this incredible actress. So I don't know. We'll see on her.
I'm in a weird spot with Chalamet. I think I like him more as a person than I do as an actor. Like the more I've seen of him, I'm like, fuck, I want to hate you, but I actually think we'd get along a lot in real life.
We'd be bros. I felt that way as an actor until like the last third of this film, when he really like just goes off and that level of anger that he in his performance. I was like, oh bro, I did not know you had this range.
Yeah, he might have like I know Wonka was technically 2023, but in the last year he might have one of the best performances and then one of the worst, because I thought him as Willy Wonka was incredibly bad. Maybe that's just me. All right, my number one movie of the year was a movie called Snack Shack.
Oh, you've talked about this.
Yeah, I don't know if this one cracked my top 100 after I had passed where it was at on the list. This movie, hardest I cried all year, I'll tell you that much, in a film. Just an incredible story about friendship. The plot is it's two best friends in the summer of 1991 who need to raise money before they go off to college. One of them wants to buy a car, and they decide that a really cool way to do it would be to basically they pay a fee to the city and they get to run the snack shack at the community pool, and they get to keep all of the profits. And they turn it into like a total bros club. It's a hard R, and the amount of fucks in this, I would say, rivals like super bad. They end up upcharging kids $1, and they will write "fuck" on their hot dog with ketchup.
Nice.
So it's business ideas like that end up making the Snack Shack so profitable for them. It has a very like coming of age vibe. There is a love story that's involved. There is a little bit of heartbreak and tragedy. It just kind of works on a lot of the levels. And the two main actors' friendships is like sort of the core of the movie. It was hilarious, made me laugh, made me cry, and was my favorite movie of the year. And another one that completely came out of left field. So if you guys have not seen Snack Shack, I highly recommend it. Came out pretty early in the year, I think like February or March.
Dang. Okay, you have to.
Yeah, I need to watch this.
Please let me know your thoughts. Solid cast, like just people. Nick Robinson's probably the biggest name, so it's a lot of people that you're just like, I remember I've seen them in something. A bunch of people.
That guy in that thing.
Yeah, Nate, what was that documentary you said about the
Yeah, it's called
literal
That Guy in That Thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got like 5 of them in this movie. It's a bunch of like
Nice.
role players that are like finally given a chance to get the ball a little bit more and they don't disappoint.
Yeah, I was looking David Costabile or whatever. But he was in Breaking Bad for a little bit.
Yeah, he's the dad in the movie of one of the characters.
Okay. Judge.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
and then Gillian Vigman, who's his wife, who's the mom, she's in a ton of stuff.
Yeah, she looks familiar,
just
but I'm not going
like
to
a
click
bit
on her
part.
name, so whatever.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. Snack Shack. All right, we can do this next one quick. We each came up with like a custom list that we wanted to make for 2024. Mine is, of course, going negative. I did my bottom 3 movies of the year. Nate, what was your list that you came up with?
Yeah, I'll do my top TV series.
Perfect. And then, Cycly, did you come up with one, or would you like us to
Yeah,
stick with
I
this?
can really quick. I have like my most fun movies of the year and my 3 most disappointments, but that was based on expectations,
Perfect.
not by box office or critics.
Nice.
Okay.
So since these are all different, we can just each do our whole list at once. So Nate, I'll let you go first just because I'm very curious about yours of top 3 TV series of the year. What you come up with?
Yeah, I'll run through these. Let's see. Number 3 was Shogun, the Hulu Japanese series, based on a book,
The
I think,
restaurant in Tulsa. Oh, okay.
based on a hibachi restaurant.
People said unadaptable, mainly because it doesn't make fucking sense, but we proved them wrong.
Yeah, fuck you, mom. No,
Nate, critics were loving this show.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a little bit of a heavy lift, because there are quite a few characters. They all have Japanese names, which I'm not totally familiar with. And then you're reading subtitles for probably 75% of it. There is some English, which is kind of fun how they disguise it because it's not really English. But a couple of the characters speak Portuguese. And whenever they speak Portuguese, it's just in English, which is nice. I'm glad they did that. It doesn't feel cheap to me. You get used to it. And you just understand that, they're speaking Portuguese now because I understand it now. I have to read subtitles.
Right. Yeah, I don't need the guys like, excuse me, that should be Portuguese.
Yeah.
Like, bro, relax.
Yeah,
dude.
come on. We don't need 3 or 4 languages we're dealing with here. No, but yeah, very compelling story. Very great character development on a lot of different characters. So the basic quick synopsis is the Japanese Empire. They're trying to appoint a new shogun, if I remember correctly, which like a head person. And then this guy comes in. He's an English sailor and comes in and gets abandoned, shipwrecked, and then he kind of goes into. He gets captured, but then his character arc and development through their society is pretty cool. That's a horrible way of synopsising that, but go watch it. It's fun, and it's really good beginning to end. Very sad at points, but good relationship building between a lot of the characters.
It's definitely on my list. Do you remember how many episodes it was and if they're an hour long?
They are, 45 to an hour. As far as episodes, there are 12. So a little more than most shows. Most shows are sticking around 9
They're
or
like
10.
swept in the awards so far.
Oh yeah, it was just dominating at the Emmys, if I remember right.
Yeah, and like there are so many good actors in this. I mean, it's none, and some that I don't know if I knew any of them before. But yeah, they all do a fantastic job. It's really great. I can't wait. I think we may have talked about this off pod. I think there's a season 2 coming. I'm pretty sure. On IMDb it says 2024 to 2026. So I think there is a second one.
Oh, nice.
In store. So yeah, that's number 3. Number 2 for me is Nobody Wants This. Netflix. Kristen Bell, Adam Brody.
My wife loved this show.
Yeah, really fun show. Like 25-minute comedy, so you can knock them out really quick, which is always nice. But yeah, their on-screen chemistry was really great. They really clicked early, and I think that led to a really great series. But it's a fun premise. Him being a rabbi and seeing a different side of a rabbi that you may not normally see. I don't know if this is the norm, but maybe talking about some more taboo subjects. Since Kristen Bell and her sister in the show have a basic sex podcast that they run, which is starting to take off. So there's a lot of different environmental factors that are forcing them not to be a couple, which hence the name Nobody Wants This, and then her obviously not being Jewish and trying to come into his life. And the way this season ended, I think it already got greenlit for a second season. The way the first season ended is great. You could see it going a couple different directions, but it was enough of a palate cleanser to leave you satisfied going into season 2.
I've said this on a few other episodes. My wife had the show on while I was doing other stuff, but the name of Adam Brody's basketball team, the Matzo Ballers, is incredible.
The Ballers.
That's a jersey that Cycly's just going to show up to a party with that jersey on.
I would. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. You get a lot of good Jewish humor, Jewish jokes, and Jewish puns in this as well. So, it's like a cultural learning experience, too, if you're not Jewish.
Yeah, there you go.
Education. Yeah, really, really great, really fun.
What's your number one series of the year? I'm assuming these are in order, right? Or
number one. Yes.
Okay.
They are in order. And Horns, I know you've seen this too, but I can't remember what this is on Prime, maybe. But Eddie Redmayne, Day of the Jackal.
Oh, loved it.
Yes, loved it. And then, okay, so loved it. Great action, great story.
This show, I think, is the best way to put it. I just
gobbled
acting. This thing up.
Yes, this is one of those that just after I finished that, I finished it literally a day and a half. Don't tell work from home day. One time I knocked out 6 episodes.
There you go.
I just could not stop. You get in the biggest conflict with the main character as far as, do you love him? Do you hate him? Do you want him to die? Do you want him to survive? It's one of the more conflicting characters I've ever seen as far as what the audience feels or what the audience is supposed to feel.
I was justifying some horrible things that he did during the show.
And I don't want to spoil too much, but Eddie Redmayne's basically a hitman that gets paid a lot of money to go after high profile people.
Charles Dance from Game of Thrones is in it. A lot of people would recognize him,
Mm-hmm.
although he doesn't have a huge role, but he has an important role.
Yeah. But yeah, it was super fast paced, and it was very, very intriguing. Him trying to keep a secret identity and not being found, and how he does that, where he lives. It just all kept me so enthralled. And like I said, it was a fun conflict to be in with your anti-hero as the lead in this series. But yeah, definitely highly recommend this one.
Yeah. Day of the Jackal. Great one.
Very
All
good.
right. Cycly, what are your top 3, would you say, most fun movies that you had?
I'll run through both lists really quick. I won't have to talk. Some of them we've already mentioned, but my most fun movies of the year were Twisters. So we already talked about that. Turn your brain off, just fun slapstick action, just ridiculous, all on the best ways. And then Jeff, I think you'll enjoy this one, Abigail.
Oh yeah,
absolutely, just a great. I don't know if it's not spoilers, it's in the trailer, so I won't give away too much, but great vampire movie. You think there's this kidnapping for money and you don't know what's really going on and who's behind it all, but overall just an extremely fun, entertaining, and albeit a really good movie too. Good performances and characters all around. But yeah, this one's I was so glad you recommended it to me. I had seen the trailer and I was sitting there going why did they reveal so much in the trailer? It was actually kind of pissed me off. It's one of those trailers that
imagine that as a twist in the movie that you didn't know was coming.
And maybe
I've started watching only 30 seconds of trailers these days because I don't want to get spoiled. Just in general, I don't
stupid.
I don't like watching full trailers now.
In the theater now and cover my ears. I'm this is too much, man.
Anyway, go ahead.
And Abby, again, and it was and maybe they were oh, if we tell people it's a vampire movie, they won't get mad that it's a vampire movie. I don't know, but I'm one of those that just make it endearing and enthralling in terms of the characters and the dilemmas going on. This movie really, I think this was a surprise of 2024. And I don't know, I don't know, Jeff, did you feel like I got a lot of people talk? I said like people online liked it, but like it's just like it would always be like, oh, I've seen Abigail, it's actually really good, you should watch it. It's like one of those things that like people just didn't know was actually as good as it was.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I think it came out at a bad time. Like I think it came out like middle of the summer instead of like around Halloween or in the fall. And then I don't feel like it was in theaters very long because I actually had plans because as you guys obviously know, I'm an AMC A-list member.
What?
It's not a big deal to go see it in theaters, but it was like out before I even really got a chance to go. Maybe because no one was going, so maybe that's the reason.
Yeah, maybe that's that. But
self-fulfilling prophecy.
So yeah, absolutely go see Abigail or watch it on streaming now. And my third, or probably my most fun film was Dev Patel's Monkey Man.
Oh yeah.
And this was a film. I think I had just read a story that like that originally was probably going to be straight to streaming. And then people like
Jordan Peele produced this. I believe.
I think Jordan Peele is the one who like saw it and was like, this needs to go straight. This needs to go to theaters. And this is not a streaming movie. It's phenomenal. It's full of action. Just an incredible story about like the long con of revenge from as a child, planning and manipulating his way into the seedy underground in India. And I mean, honestly, I really feel like this one deserved a lot more attention and credit. It is a phenomenal film, but it's all just a layer under like John Wick in the amount of like action scenes and like creative kills. But I think there's a lot more story than a John Wick movie here. And Dev Patel has a little more, he has more than 4 lines, unlike Keanu Reeves.
Dev Patel directed it as well.
Yeah, he did. That. Yes. So I really feel like this movie didn't get a lot of talk. I feel like if it wasn't for Jordan Peele, it definitely wouldn't have. Or maybe it would have been one of those that like, hey, it was on Netflix and everyone watched. But it's extremely well done. It's really original and it's incredible filmmaking, to be honest with you. Like some of the shots that were done, if you're into action movies too, like, I mean, this will not let you up. It is pretty nonstop when it comes to that. But Monkey Man, absolutely recommend.
Well, don't worry, because it's been recognized by the only media outlet that counts, and that is the Oscars. It's nominated for Best Action Movie.
That's the only, yeah.
Sleep easy.
Really quickly, I'm just going to go my disappointments. These are one movies that I just like had really high expectations for. I'm not even saying I didn't like these movies. They just disappointed me. So I'm going to go with The Strangers Chapter 1. Jeff and I have talked ad nauseum about this one. I'm going to hold on full review until we get Chapter 2 and 3 because I'm hoping that they're doing something else with it and they're creating a new base. Longlegs. That's a controversial one, I feel like, because I feel like people like either freaking loved it or did not. I
just don't get the hype.
Yeah, the hype is what ruined it for me. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I think the performances and all, we can talk about that. We've talked about that film already, but just
check out our review on Longlegs.
Yeah, the level of marketing was improper. And if I was the filmmaker, I would have been really annoyed at the marketing team. And already mentioned the biggest disappointment of the year, Joker 2. Just absolute joke. Like, not even as someone who again loved Joker, loves these kind of anti-villains. The concept of a story was there, and I think that's what made it hurt worse. That every time it was doing something well, and you were finally getting like, okay, I see what they're going with, they just immediately slapped you in the face with the stupidest song, and it just felt surreal half the time watching it. So like there was potential there, and I think that's what hurts the most with Joker 2.
Yeah, it's almost like the anti-movie. Like I feel like Todd Phillips made it as like a middle finger to the Hollywood system and then people who care about comic book films, which is a very Joker thing to do.
Maybe.
My list ties right into that. My worst 3 movies of the year. Won't spend too much on each of these. These are going to be controversial for some people at home. They're going to be people spitting out their beer and sending me death threats, and I welcome it. First up, by first up I mean number 3, Smile 2. Again, in a great year for horror. This movie to me was just not working. I know, Cycle, you were a fan of it. I don't want to say you like loved it, but you definitely liked it more than I did. I just felt like it took the same set piece and ran it back 3 or 4 times. And then we'll call it a quote unquote twist that happens with the main character. That is something that always annoys me in movies. And I like the first one. I didn't love the first one. This one just really let me down. Although I will say Naomi Scott is awesome in Smile 2. My second worst movie of the year. It's actually a 3-parter. Really should have been a no-parter. Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 and 3. So the DC animated films used to be the cream of the crop, going all the way back to Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which was a theatrical release. This movie is the most jumbled, convoluted clusterfuck, as Nate would say, when we used to play Gears of War and everyone was in the same 4-foot area.
Yeah,
that's what this movie is. I believe there's over 100 characters, and most of them, there's probably 42 different storylines that I don't even say they intersect. They introduce a character, and then you never see them again for 4 hours of the 3-movie runtime. They don't even come back. And then people will just show up and they act like they're the most important character in the movie, and I'll be like, I've never fucking seen you. Who are you? And the one thing that's really unforgivable for an animated movie, this looks like shit. It looks like they put it together in a weekend. It's awful. Last one. I'm really going to get death threats for this one. My worst movie of the year, because I thought it was satirical and was trying to make us laugh, because my wife and I were literally cackling out loud at the theater at the last shot. Challengers. Have any of you guys seen the Zendaya tennis movie Challengers?
I did. Yeah, I watched it on a plane, which I had to fast forward through the threesome making out scene because I felt uncomfortable watching it on a plane.
Yep. Cycling has a story of a woman who was watching, what was it, Anyone But You, and was zooming in on
but she rewound it twice. I was like, respect.
Oh my god.
I was like, okay, girl, get it.
So Nate, I probably hated it more than anyone else, but do you remember the last? We don't have to say it because it's kind of a spoiler, but do you remember the last shot of the movie?
I'm trying to. I feel like no, because you were texting about this the other day, and I was like, what was it? I should have gone and looked.
It's done in slow motion, which might kind of help you remember, and it happens during a tennis match, which isn't really a spoiler.
Okay, wait, Cycly, have you seen it?
I've read the Wikipedia page.
Oh.
Seemed like it would save me time and effort. So.
I would love to see how they describe the last scene. People are acting like this movie changed their lives, and I was like, I was cracking up at this thing. It was so ridiculous.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't think I hated it as much as you, but it was a weird movie. The weird dynamics that went through, the relationship issues it was going with, and then it was the weird sex threesome triangle, and I was like, what is going? I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the film was trying to be.
My wife was laughing too because the whole movie had this porno synth soundtrack. It was boom, 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 and that would just play for 6 straight minutes. And I would be like, "Are we gonna fuck or play laser tag? What's happening?"
During matches, whenever it was just going all the time.
The guy goes to take a piss. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, I had higher expectations than I came out of it with, for sure. It was just weird and kind of all over the place with genre. I didn't know what it was doing.
Yeah, it was bizarre. The movie definitely thinks it's doing something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's trying. It's trying real hard.
It reminds me of the way Macklemore dresses. It's I don't know what the fuck you're going for, but you're probably not pulling it off, bud.
You're giving it your all. You are trying. You're putting effort out there. I get it.
Yeah, you're sprinting everywhere, and you could probably be jogging, and it wouldn't be just as effective.
It's fine.
All right, that's all I got to put a bow on 2024. Anything else you guys want to reminisce on from the movie season, or just an overall thought? We covered a lot of ground there.
I was surprised no one said anything about Deadpool and Wolverine, but mainly I just wanted to say that was a really highlight of the year. Not that those aren't necessarily my favorite movies, but all the bros getting together last summer, celebrating a Bro Force Squad annual retreat, and getting to watch that. So that will be a fun one. That was a good time this year.
Yeah, I'm glad you got
sure.
That was a blast. And that movie did not disappoint. I had pretty high hopes for it, but in a year that was really bad for superhero movies.
Yeah.
I feel like superhero shows actually were a lot better than the movies this year. At least we got one that wasn't a total wet fart.
Yeah. No, it was fun. When it didn't crack my top movies, obviously, but um, it was fun, enjoyable action. Obviously, it was about what I expected, but it made me laugh a ton. So that's what I was expecting. So.
And then when we left, the movie theater smelled like shit because there was actual shit coming to us.
I totally forgot about
Literal.
that. That's right.
How could you
Pouring
forget?
from the ceiling.
Yeah. It was a sign from God. All right. Protein shake. We're running a little long, so we can do an abbreviated one here. This is where we go around and talk about what is in our cup, also known as what have we watched lately. I actually think one of you might say one of mine, so I'm not going to share anything from my protein shake today, if that's all right. And I'll either put them in a squad blog or talk about them with one of you.
Yeah, I'll just share one. That's fine.
Yeah, go for it.
Squid Game 2 is out now on Netflix. I don't know if either of you watched the original one.
I did. We're
so,
2 episodes into the second season.
Okay.
Now.
What do you think so far?
I like it. I'm having a lot of trouble though doing 2 things. Number one, feeling like season 1, the conclusion wasn't a good conclusion for the series. And then 2, rationalizing, slight spoiler for Squid Game, skip ahead 30 seconds, why the main character wants to go back. Like he said why, I just don't buy it.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly. I have 1 episode left. Season 2 and 3 are technically going to be one long season, right? Like this is like a half season, I guess, and season 3 comes out this year or later in 2025. What I will say, no spoilers because it just came out like literally a week and a half ago. I'll say I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I felt like this definitely didn't need a second series. The biggest flaw with the first one was the ending of him leaving and getting off the plane and going back. I'm like, dude, go just spend time with your daughter. Like, who are you to go and take down this like underground violent mob? But I was a little worried it's gonna be like kind of like a la like Hunger Games. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna get another one, and she's just doing the same thing again. And then the third one, it's like, oh, she's in the game again. Like,
right, but this time more blood or something.
Yeah. So I do appreciate at least for you or Jeff too. Like, there's more original story here. There's more characters outside of the people in the game, which I'm enjoying. There's a lot of like I think what the first season did well was like just kind of bring you in and kind of like root for people that you even only meet for a few minutes. Like it's really good at just like driving that character development and making you sympathetic to like these characters. But I do like that they've gone in a little bit of a different direction than I expected, with still kind of like doing the Squid Game thing. But my wife and I have been flying through it, so it's exceeded my expectations. I did not have high hopes for it as someone who did enjoy the first one.
That's good to hear.
Now, let me ask you a quick question. Most of the characters, I actually kind of enjoy this, but they're like all cranked up to 11, meaning like whatever role they're supposed to serve, like there's no subtlety in their performance or the way that they're written. But I think part of this might be the way we watch the show. So Cycly, if you remember that movie, The Conference, that like, was it a Danish horror film you told me to watch? Yeah. Okay, I really like that movie, but I watched it with the English dubbed version.
Okay.
And it worked. It worked really well. How do you watch Squid Game? Because we watch it English dubbed.
I cannot watch it on English dubbed. I watched the first episode English dubbed, and it was so distracting because
that might be the problem.
I did the same thing for season 1.
Yeah, it's not that like I feel bad for the dubbed actors. Like it's not like they're probably getting paid that much money, but like it really, like, you see on screen a character like screaming and crying, and it's the dub voice is like, oh no, I'm very upset about this, and I'm just like, so we switched to the original Korean and watch it with English subtitles, and I genuinely feel like I have a better viewing experience. I don't like necessarily reading subtitles nonstop, but it does bring me more into the show. I was heavily distracted that first episode with the English dubbed.
1,000%. Yeah, like the voice doesn't match up with like emotions as well as it should.
Yeah, because even if I don't can't hear what they're like, it doesn't like register because I don't speak the language. They're still emoting way better,
Oh,
no
sure.
offense, than the dubbed actors are.
Oh, 100%. And again, not to take
Yeah.
away from the dub actor. Like I don't. That's not going to be an easy role, and I don't know what they're
No.
asking of them.
See, that's the
yeah,
difference
I
because
would
I am
recommend
trying to take
Korean.
away from the dubbed actors.
You
Yeah.
really have a problem with them.
Big dub actor detractor.
Wow,
So
That was a tongue twister. I had to like
That's
slow
a-
down.
that's good.
that's a T-shirt.
Dub actor.
Detractor.
But yeah, I would recommend watching it on the original Korean if you don't mind subtitles, which I don't.
Yeah, I
so.
think we're gonna have to make the switch because I think we ended up doing what Nate said they did for season 1 was like a few episodes. I remember specifically there was one character in the Squid Game. It was like the bully guy,
Yeah.
like the foil. He was so over the top with the dubbed version. I was like, I feel like I'm watching professional wrestling. Like the way he would like talk shit to everybody else. But then when we switch it over, I was like, all right, this is much better. He's still like an over the top character, but
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like like not even rooted in reality anymore.
For sure. Yep.
All right, Nate, what's in your cup? What have you seen lately?
I'll do two things quickly. One is crossover with you, so we can talk about that. No Good Deed, knocked that out recently,
Yeah.
and I know we've been texting about that. I really enjoyed it. What were your thoughts? I know there were some things you were hoping tied up in the last couple episodes.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. Liz Feldman, the creator of this show, also did Dead to Me with Linda Cardellini and Christina Applegate and James Marsden, which I really liked.
Mhm.
And Cycle, I think you'll appreciate this. It is kind of a delicious whodunit that plays out
Ooh, I
over
love a delicious whodunit.
8 or so episodes. Great casting, Nate, which I
Yeah.
thought was like the thing that originally lured me in. That one family, I won't say who, I think you take them out of the show and nothing changes, which wasn't really a complaint. I just kind of felt bad for them. Like they're in the show and they don't end up doing anything. But this was fun. All over the top characters. Everybody was pretty interesting. It was pretty well written. It's not like the craziest twist or like some mind-blowing reveal in the end, but it made sense. And I do think the juice was worth the squeeze. Like short 30-minute episodes, and we had a blast with it.
Yeah, and I think I kind of lean on what you're saying. It makes sense, and the twist makes sense. But it was enough to where when they were revealing things, you're like, oh shit, okay, that's cool. Like I didn't line that up earlier, and like how things kept unfolding. Yeah, it was nothing mind blowing or like super psychological or anything, but like as pieces came out, you're like, oh, okay, that's cool how that pieces together. That makes sense. They would plant little seeds in earlier episodes and obviously unravel a little later. But the couple you're talking about, I feel like they did play a little bit of role. I don't want to spoil anything, but because they interact with another couple later in the season, and it causes them to do something that causes something else to happen. That causes, it causes some things at the end to kind of flesh out. Was it totally necessary? I don't know, but I feel like they played enough of a role in it. There were a few things about the woman character in that couple that I wish would have fleshed out a little more. And without spoiling anything, I think you can probably tell what I'm talking about there. Another character that doesn't really enter the realm too much.
Yes, who is like kind of more important than they need to be.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That part didn't really come back and tie in too much. I was like, I really wanted a little more there. But
it was one of those things like every time they brought it up, they gave you the vibe like, don't worry, we'll cover this later. And
exactly. I'm like, okay, we're gonna get some more information on this, and we never really did. So
no, it just tickled our
balls. Yeah, fun. It was the good thing is 30-minute episodes, so knock them out quick. Big Knives Out vibes. So if you're into that, I think you like this one.
Two kind of fun reunions in the cast here. So we have two people from the Ice Age films in Dennis Leary and Ray Romano.
Yeah,
who have a lot of screen time together. Obviously, Ray Romano is the woolly mammoth and Dennis Leary is the saber-toothed tiger. I don't know their names. Fuck you if you do at home. And then a Legally Blonde reunion, Linda Cardellini and Luke Wilson, who play husband and wife in the show.
Yeah, really, really fun cast.
Yeah,
really fun cast. And then the last thing I'll talk about, one thing I watched movie recently because I read the book. It's only been out for like 60 years, so To Kill a Mockingbird. Recently
finally got around to it.
Yeah, I finally got around to it. Read the book. It was fantastic. Watched the 1960 something movie with Gregory Peck. Also fantastic. Thought it did justice to the book. A few things were cut out which were noticeable, but it didn't really affect the plot much. I think they still kept the important parts in there. Really fun story. And honestly, I had no idea that who plays Boo Radley in it. It's it'll come to me in a second. I could look it up. But the court
for you.
Yeah, the court scenes were. Why am I blanking on his name? He's in a ton of westerns. He's in The Judge.
Oh, Robert Duvall.
Robert Duvall, yeah. He's not in it that much if you've read the book or seen the movie, but he is in it. But courtroom scenes are really great. A lot of good performances as far as the acting goes. A lot of people I didn't know. I mean, Gregory Peck and Robert Duvall were really the only two actors that stood out that I really knew from it. But yeah, it's fun. It's a little hokey at times, but you're going to get that from a movie set in Alabama in the 1930s. But yeah, really good performances. There wasn't like too much overacting that you'll get sometimes in those older movies. Yeah, very solid.
Am I wrong in remembering that did they remake this and John Malkovich played Boo Radley, or is that like a totally that's Of Mice and Men, I think.
So if they did that, man, I was not aware that they remade To Kill a Mockingbird. Yeah.
Well, I also see John Malkovich playing that role though.
Yeah, I also just saw as I was Googling who played Boo Radley, this is on Broadway again, and Ed Harris is playing Atticus, and Nick Robinson is playing Boo Radley, who we just mentioned from Snack Shack.
Oh man,
cannot see Nick Robinson in that role.
Dang, that's what you said. Ed Harris.
Yeah, as Atticus Finch. I would pay big bucks to see that on Broadway.
Man, yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
But, Nate, you always bring a level of class to the proceedings with you.
I try. I try and knock out some old classics every once in a while.
It's been like since high school, since like senior year, or like watching that and reading it. Man, it might be time to revisit that. I remember it was always impactful.
Oh yeah, I even like back then. Even when we tried to like a stupid ass black and white movie. Oh wait, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Nate, is this on Max? Is it one of the TCMs?
I think I got this at my local library.
Okay. I don't know what the word for this is. It's like a I don't know, just like an assumption. Any movie that's in black and white, I assume, is a Turner Classic movie. Like they were the only people making movies.
Yeah.
Pre-1970.
Yeah, I don't know who put this one out, but yeah, I'm glad I finally watched that one. It was good.
Yes. Good shit. All right, anybody got anything else in their protein shake?
Nah.
Perfect. All right, that brings us to the last part of our show, our question and answer segment. Do you even lift, bruh? Normally, Banner would make a parrot noise. This is where we ask a question that we leave you guys with at home as we answer it. The question tonight is our continuing countdown of the Bros top 100 movies of all time. The list is ongoing, and it is linked in the description of this podcast episode. Before we get into it, we're going to have Nate give us his number 37 and 36th best movie of all time. So we're getting into some serious shit here, sub 40s. Mm-hmm. This is like, in our entire life's worth, this is like, we're not fucking around. Cycly, how would you describe to our listeners what these top 100 lists are? Because as we always say, it's not like a film student's top 100. There's a different take here, and we usually like to use Banner as the poster child for why our list is different from a lot of other ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly that. It's your favorite movies, and you can define your favorite movies however you want to. Some might be, what is your most rewatchable movie? Some might be like, what are your most impactful movies? Or it could be, like you said, like, are the most 100 best movies ever made, in your opinion? So it really, for all of us, it's unique, and there's no explanation needed to give. Like, you don't need to defend yourself. Everyone's going to have their own, and it's a fun activity to do. I like literally have had friends and family do this because it's so, one, it takes you back to thinking back all the movies you've ever seen, but two, like really like break down like what makes a movie better to you, or more entertaining, or what is it really that makes a movie great.
Very well said. And even though we like make fun of Banner, I am so glad his list is the way it is, because it's his list. Like you said, it's his own sensibilities are embodied in it. All right, so Nate, the last one you did was your number 38, and it was a very Nate Thurman movie, if I do say so myself, and that's a compliment.
Oh, yeah.
It was "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" Just does a great like vibes movie. So your number 37 will join the ranks of Cycles' number 37, which is Inglourious Bastards.
Ooh.
Yeah. Banner's was Disturbia, which I really like.
Disturbia.
And mine was the 1991 animated Beauty and the Beast, the OG Disney one. So again, very eclectic list. We have one where Nazis are killed, and then we also have Inglourious Bastards.
Hey-o.
So, Nate, what is one ahead of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou at number 37 on your list?
Coming in at 37 for my list is Dodgeball, a true underdog story.
Nice.
Man, this just fits in with all the aughts comedies of that time. It's right in the wheelhouse of classic Vince Vaughn when he was tearing it up. Man, this one is just really well done. The ancillary cast also is really great in this. I mean, not even like outside of Ben Stiller and Christine Taylor. I love Jason Bateman's character in this, and it's such a small but funny role. It's like they were like, "What's Jason Bateman doing this weekend? Can we get it in for like a couple scenes?" But it
took him like an hour to film all that.
Yeah, it's not a role you see him, and he just plays the dumb jock guy who's somehow became a sports announcer on the Ocho. But him and Gary
like a
Cole,
wetsuit on or something. It's so weird.
as the announcers for this is pretty awesome. But yeah, it's just a funny premise to get around, and they did it so well, and just everyone buying in on such a weird event to be in on a dodgeball tournament, and how competitive they get with it. Ben Stiller's White Goodman is fantastic. Iconic. Yeah, it's an iconic role for him. And like I said, it just fit in like right where Vince Vaughn was doing like his best work. And then, like I said, so many ancillary characters that do so well and like filling roles and playing these role parts. Stephen Root, I love him just in general. And him in this.
Talk about a versatile actor.
Funny. Oh yeah.
He's in this and Get Out. He scares the shit out of you in that movie.
God.
He's the guy in Office Space whose stapler gets taken.
Yeah. Just a lot of well cast people in this. I think everyone was put in their roles perfectly. And I feel like it's the true underdog story. I feel like it's kind of underrated because it gets like mixed in the shuffle with all the other great old school Wedding Crashers of that time. Super bad a few years later, but yeah, it kind of just gets lost in the shuffle. But man, it can hold its own.
Oh yeah. How is it that Vince Vaughn is still so funny as the straight man? That's basically what he is here, next to White Goodman. But I think he's just as hilarious as anyone else in the film.
Yeah, I mean, he can fit in either side because his comedic timing is just impeccable. So he plays well off other people, whether he's the goofy dude, he's trying to make the jokes, or if he's trying to be the straight guy, like he is in Dodgeball.
I rewatched this because I think its 20th anniversary was sometime last year, if I remember. And it was on Hulu at the time. And there's a scene, it's so great to go back because you and I have probably seen the same with Cycle and everybody on the pod, but have seen this probably like 10 or 15 times in our life.
Yeah.
So we could probably quote it word for word, but there's still stuff you pick up on every time. And at the very beginning of the movie, when Gary LaFleur, Vince Vaughn's character, is really not that interested at all in trying to save the gym, but everyone else is. You know, they throw the car wash where they raise like $20 or whatever, and it's just because that one guy had Justin Long wash his car like 3 times. Well, Vince Vaughn is trying to get out of trying to raise money, and he goes, "Listen, guys, if an impromptu car wash isn't enough to raise $10,000 the day before, maybe it's just not in the cards."
Yeah, maybe we're just not supposed to do this.
Yeah, if that can't pull it off, then maybe it's not meant to happen.
I'm out of ideas, to be honest.
Exactly. And he's like drinking a beer the whole time, which is great.
Yeah.
I got to say, Nate, I know you and I have kind of been teasing this for a while. There is, I believe, in both of our lists, going to be a pretty big run on the early aughts comedies of this era. But I'm glad you got this one out here because it gives it a little bit of breathing room from the others. And it like, if this would have come out, I don't know, in like a different time period away from all those other films of the same ilk, I feel like it would have gotten a lot more respect from people.
Yeah, I think that's why it falls here. I mean, it's top 100 is top 50. So obviously giving it respect here because of how great it was done. But yeah, it's not up there with all those other ones that are gonna trumpet later on my list.
All right. Next up, going from Dodgeball, a True Underdog Story, a movie that I think makes a great double bill with it at number 36 for Cycly is Requiem for a Dream.
Oh yeah,
Basically the same movie.
Yeah, I mean, shot for shot remake almost.
It's like the Ants and Bugs Life, or
Requiem for a Dream and Dodgeball. Banner's number 36 is Mrs. Doubtfire, and then mine is the Ryan Reynolds rom-com Definitely Maybe.
Boy, mine really sticks out with those.
Yeah, how many podcasts have Requiem for a Dream and Definitely Maybe at the same ranking on lists? Probably not many.
Just as many as have Requiem for a Dream and Toy Story, which is 36 on my list.
Nice.
Same spot.
I have Toy Story at 39, so pretty close.
Oh, nice. It's fun when I mean, as fun as it is to like see like how different our numbers are. It's cool when they like kind of get closer. Like, oh yeah.
I think mine was at 50 something, so not overly.
Yeah, this is one of those movies, and I wanted us to try and think of like 4 or 5 of these beforehand. Like, how many movies do you think will be on everyone's list?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah,
this would have been an interesting one. It's cool because obviously we have no communication when we make these, so for it to just end up being within 3 of each other is fun.
Yeah, yeah, and this is another one. Like when it came out, it was just right in the wheelhouse for us, and then just how iconic it is for Pixar, for Disney, for what it is, and the technology it used, the first of its kind, coming up with a new style to give audiences this animation. And then it's just a really well written story. It's very nostalgic. Especially it's one you can rewatch over and over again, and you can start seeing it from different points of view, from Andy, from his mom. You can really connect with the characters. They have their own very loud personalities that really come to life. And I mean, you could go on and on about this one, but yeah, it's just a very nostalgic, very touching movie that is in our top 50. I think Cycly said 50, so in all of our top 50s for a reason.
Yeah, but in the 50s, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, in all of our top 100s.
Yeah.
As a kid, I remember watching this and being really angry at Buzz Lightyear. Now I watch it and I just find Woody as like a really sad character. The way he handles everything.
Well, I'm growing up and re-looking at films into different perspectives.
Yeah. But yeah, even those new perspectives for this movie, you see them and you still enjoy it and you can still appreciate it from those different perspectives. I'm sure there's movies out there that don't age as well over time and you go back and like rewatch them and now with my mindset as a 30-something-year-old, it doesn't fit. Toy Story, that will never change. It'll always fit.
And I mean, you're right. Animation-wise, it changed the game. I mean, after this, if you weren't making 3D animation, which I think we've all kind of bemoaned this, like we do miss 2D. But if you weren't making a 3D animated film and it was animated, it was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Get out of here.
It'd be like taking a horse to work instead of a car. Like you're an idiot. We have better technology. We should try it, actually.
Yeah.
You guys might have to with the winter storm coming. So.
Very true. Horse is the best way to travel.
Yep.
Let's get those conditions. All right, guys, before we let the people go for episode 234 and say goodbye to the year 2024 in movies, any last bit of advice? Cycly, what do you want to leave the people with?
I just drove about 28 hours across the country in the last 2 weeks. Guys, get the fuck out of the left lane. It is a big problem in our society. And especially, you know what, semi-truck drivers, like those listening to us, like while you're on the long haul, you guys are professional drivers. You guys should know better than anyone. Don't pass another semi with you as a semi, like unless you know you're going to be able to pass it within, like, I don't know, a minute. Like, don't just sit there and have everyone on the highway just sit behind 2 semis. Just driving me crazy.
Very
You've
true.
been saying this for a while. We do give a lot of driving advice on this podcast. Because obviously Banners is emergency vehicles.
Yeah.
Nate, do you have any rules of the road you want to help the people with, or are you going to shift gears, pun intended, to something else?
Yeah, as far as rules of the road, yeah, I mean, a big one that you don't that you see skipped a lot is it's really simple and it's there for a reason. Use your signal. I don't know what you're doing.
Why is it so
It,
hard?
I don't know.
I will honk very loud at you if you don't signal in front of me and you turn.
It's just
100%.
flicking your wrist. It's
Yeah.
already there.
That's it. It's a courtesy, and I probably get way more angry than I should when I drive when I see some of this stuff. But yeah,
Pisses
it
me
just
off.
pisses me off so much because I see it as an arrogant move. They don't
Yes.
value every other person on the road enough to let them know that, hey, I'm moving from this lane to this lane, or I'm turning here. Yeah, it's just the ignorance and the arrogance, and that's how it comes off. Maybe that person isn't arrogant. Maybe they just missed it.
No, they
I don't know. But
No,
still,
If-
I over signal. I'll signal in parking lots when no one's around me,
right.
just because I'm used to it. It's a habit. Like, it
If
just
that's
does it.
asking too much, then you shouldn't be driving. Like
Exactly.
straight up. If
Exactly.
that's
We
this
need
gargantuan task, then just stay off the road.
It's
Yeah,
the
like-
easiest part of driving.
every other
Just
year need a
flicking that
driving
up or
test
down.
for everyone.
Yeah, the only excuse is if I drive past you and you don't have any arms, in which case I have some other questions I'd like to ask you.
Yeah. How big is your penis?
Exactly. Do
Because
you
that's what you're
like
driving with.
Well, then you
Or
especially should be able to signal.
like goofy? Yeah, right. Well, at that point, he wants you to drive up to ask how big his dick is. It's like
That's true.
he's reaching for it. My advice, I've been kind of harping on this a lot lately. If you live in a neighborhood or like an apartment complex that has any like social media group where people post frequently, like a Facebook group or the Nextdoor app or what we have, the Ring app, just know that when you ask stupid fucking questions on there, everyone is judging you. When I go to the Ring app for my neighborhood, I'm not being hyperbolic when I say a third of the posts are, what was that noise? Like, first off, no one gives a fuck. Second off, I don't think anyone heard it. So,
No, you're the only person.
I don't know what to tell you. And now on the Ring app, and I read some of these, I think, last pod with you guys, people luckily have gotten insanely sarcastic on there. Like,
Good.
what was that noise? Someone said, Russia nuked us, end of world. I would go to your basement. And then everyone else very deadpan comments. Yep, that's what's happening too. We're getting all our canned foods and heading to basement now.
You're probably dead, actually.
Yeah. And
It's
these
the
people
only way
obviously,
to answer these people.
no, you can't. Yeah, you can't. You have to fight fire with fire. You can't indulge them. So just know, if on the Ring app, if you say something like, did anyone else hear that bird this morning? I'm going to come at you with everything that I have.
Yeah.
All right, for the American hero, Nate Thurman, and our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycli, I'm the mayor, Jeff Hornacek. We are the Bro Force Squad podcast. 2024 was an awesome year in movies. We're pumped for 2025. Thank you guys for joining us. Hope you're here along the way. You can find us on Twitter, Threads, and Instagram at Bro Force Squad. If you type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words, we're on Letterboxd, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. You can find everything on our website, broforcesquad.com, and there's a link at the top of this description and at the top of our website. We have a sponsor. It is buyblacket.com. If you click the link, they have some cool apparel and stuff, and on their website you get a 15% discount with anything you buy. Thank you guys, and we will see you in 2025. Yay.